There's a truth most of us are never taught at school, the kind of truth that could change everything if we just grasped it early on. Money isn't meant to be kept locked away like some precious artifact gathering dust. No, money is created to work, to move, to multiply, and to serve us in ways we often overlook. But look around, and you'll see most people doing the exact opposite. They slave away for money their entire lives, pouring in sweat and hours while their money lounges around doing absolutely nuts, idling a bank account, sleeping soundly while they toss and turn at night, wake up before dawn, worry about bills piling up, stress over unexpected expenses, and eventually burn out from the relentless grind. I remember a friend coming to me once, frustrated and exhausted, saying, "Jim, I work so hard every single day, but money never seems to stick around with me. It comes in and slips right out." I couldn't help but smile knowingly and reply, "That's because you're treating your money like a fragile little child that needs constant protection and sheltering. Instead, you should be training it to become a strong, capable soldier that goes out and works tirelessly for you." When you finally understand how to flip that script and make money work for you, everything in your life starts to shift in profound ways. You stop merely scraping by to make a living and begin actually building a rich, fulfilling life. You no longer have to chase after money desperately. Instead, money starts finding its way to you, drawn by the systems and habits you've put in place. In today's video, I'm excited to share with you 7 core principles, timeless ideas that have the power to reverse the roles between you and your money. These aren't just theories, they're practical steps drawn from years of observation upon experience and conversations with people from all walks of life. And if you stick with me until the very end, you'll gain a deeper understanding of why the rich seem to grow freer, more at ease with each passing year, while the poor often become more exhausted and trapped, even though both groups might be putting in the same amount of hard work day in, day out. So let's dive right in with the first principle, the solid foundation upon which every form of financial freedom I've ever witnessed has been built. Principle 1, build an invisible army called money. I once stood in front of a group of eager students in California and shared this simple yet profound idea. If you don't find a way to make money work for you while you're sleeping, you'll end up working until the day you die. The room erupted in laughter at first, but only a handful truly got it, their eyes lighting up with that spark of realization. You see, most people spend their entire lives in a one-way relationship with money. They work for it, chase it, beg for it, but never demand that it reciprocate. That's why, over the same span of years, one person can amass wealth and security while another burns out completely, left with nothing but regrets and fatigue. I recall meeting a 42-year-old man in Texas who embodied this struggle perfectly. He clocked in 12 grueling hours a day at his job, earned a decent income, owned his house and car outright, yet he lived in constant fear. If I stop working even for a day, he confided, my income vanishes into thin air. He didn't realize that every single dollar he earned was essentially unemployed, sitting lazy and unproductive in his bank account like untrained soldiers lounging around camp instead of preparing for battle. The rich approach this so differently. They actively build an invisible army out of their money. Every dollar in their possession is deployed like a dedicated soldier, sent out into the world to work, to fight for opportunities, and to return home with spoils and reinforcements. Imagine it vividly, a modest investment in a stock or fund. A book you author and sell online perpetually, a video course that delivers ongoing value to learners, a rental property that generates steady income, or even a small stake in a promising company. All of these become your loyal, tireless employees. They don't ask for raises, they never take vacations, and they certainly don't get exhausted. The more of these employees you recruit and train, the freer you become in every sense, because while you're catching some much needed sleep, that army is still out there hustling on your behalf. While you're enjoying a leisurely walk in the park or spending quality time with loved ones, they're generating profits and building your future. And when the time comes for you to retire or step back, keep right on paying your salary without missing a beat. The poor typically rely on just one fragile source of income, their job, which can vanish in an instant due to layoffs, illness, or economic shifts. The rich, however, cultivate multiple streams, each one a reliable soldier in their arsenal. They grasp a fundamental truth: human strength and energy are finite. We only have so many hours in a day and so much physical capacity. But the power of money, that's virtually infinite if you know how to harness it. You can't stretch your time beyond 24 hours, but you can multiply the value and impact of your money exponentially. Think of money as a form of energy, pure potential waiting to be directed. If you learn to channel it wisely, it doesn't just sit still. It multiplies, circulates through investments and ventures, and inevitably flows back to you stronger than before. Start small, even with your very first dollar. Save it intentionally, then invest it in something simple like a low-cost index fund, or use it to learn a skill that allows you to create something of lasting value, like an online course or a digital product. Every dollar you send out the right way, the strategic way, will return to you accompanied by its friends, compounding your wealth over time. Don't hoard money like a cautious storekeeper afraid of loss. Instead, trade it and lead it like a general commanding troops. When you have this invisible army of money working relentlessly for you, life transforms dramatically. You're no longer trapped in the vicious cycle of earning just to spend and then exhausting yourself to earn again. Instead, you step aside, observe, and enjoy the fruits as that army operates quietly and efficiently every single day. And once you've internalized the immense power of building this money army, the next principle naturally follows. It guides you in selecting the right soldiers, the assets that will truly serve and pay you back handsomely. Principle 2, only buy what pays you. In this world, There are essentially two types of people when it comes to handling money: those who consistently buy assets and those who unwittingly accumulate liabilities. The latter group often justifies their choices with, well, meaning but misguided reasoning. I've worked so hard all year long, I deserve to treat myself to something nice, so they splurge on a shiny new car, the latest smartphone, or a sprawling house far bigger than their needs. For a fleeting moment, they bask in the happiness of acquisition, feeling accomplished and rewarded. But then inevitably the bills start rolling: monthly payments, insurance, premium maintenance, costs, repairs, and that initial joy evaporates, replaced by mounting pressure and regret. They don't see it coming, but they've essentially bought themselves a new master, one that demands they work even harder to keep up with its insatiable demands. The rich operate on an entirely different wavelength. Before they even consider purchasing anything, they pause and ask themselves one crucial question: does this thing pay me? If the answer is a resounding no, they walk away without a second thought. They don't make decisions driven by fleeting emotions or societal pressures. They buy with clear vision and long-term strategy in mind. For instance, the house you live in personally isn't truly an asset because it drains money from your pocket every month through mortgages, utilities, and upkeep. But a rental apartment or property, that's a genuine asset because it generates income for you month after month, covering its own costs and then some. Similarly, a car used solely for commuting to work is a liability, sucking up gas, insurance, and depreciation. But if you use that same car for a ride-sharing service or delivery gig, it transforms into an asset that actively earns money. The rich filter every potential purchase through this lens. Does this feed me, or do I have to feed it? If you're the one constantly pouring resources into it, it's a liability weighing you down. If it provides ongoing returns, it's an asset lifting you up. Take a moment right now to look around your own home or life and ask yourself honestly, how many things here are quietly draining money from my pocket without giving anything back? And how many are actively working for me, contributing to my financial growth? That single, probing question has the potential to reshape your entire financial future if you let it guide your choices. I once met a young man in San Diego, just 26 years old, earning a modest $2,500 a month from his entry-level job. Instead of succumbing to the temptation of buying a flashy new car to impress his friends, he made a wiser move. He purchased an old, fixer-upper house, invested time and a bit of money to renovate it, and then rented out portions to tenants. 3 years later, the rental income from that property was sufficient to cover his living expenses, allowing him to quit his full-time job and launch a small startup he'd always dreamed about. He shared with me, I realized that if I focus on buying the right things, the ones that will work for me indefinitely, my life changes for the better. The rich aren't necessarily smarter than the rest of us. They're just more disciplined and strategic with their money. They don't spend to flaunt status or seek temporary thrills. They spend to grow their wealth sustainably. One day, they reach a point where they no longer need to report to a job every morning because their carefully chosen assets are paying them handsomely. That's the moment when money truly starts working and glimmers of real freedom begin to emerge. But to ensure those assets flourish and multiply over time, you must grasp the simplest yet most potent rule in all of finance, the rule of compound interest. And that brings us seamlessly to the next principle. Principle 3, compound interest only works when you don't touch the money. There are certain unbreakable rules in life that function silently in the background, whether you believe in them or acknowledge them or not, and compound interest is undoubtedly one of the most magical among them. Albert Einstein himself reportedly called it the eighth wonder of the world, and for good reason. He recognized that nothing quite matches the transformative power of time when it's combined with unwavering patience. Let me paint a picture for you to illustrate this. Imagine planting a tiny seed in fertile soil full of potential to grow into a mighty tree. But instead of leaving it be, you dig it up the very next day to check on its progress, then bury it again, only to repeat the process over and over. That seed will never sprout, let alone thrive, not because it's inherently weak, but because you're denying it the essential time it needs to take root and develop. Money behaves in exactly the same way if you're constantly meddling with it. Withdrawing funds prematurely, spending impulsively, shifting investments on whims, or fretting endlessly, you disrupt its natural growth process and sabotage your own progress. I once encountered a young man in New York who was just dipping his toes into investing in stocks. He approached me excitedly, but also a bit discouraged, saying, Jim, I've started investing, but I don't feel like I'm getting any richer yet. I inquired, how long have you been at it? His response, 4 months. I couldn't help but smile. 4 months is barely a blip in the grand scheme, hardly enough time to notice meaningful changes, but 4 years that can revolutionize your entire financial landscape. Compound interest isn't designed for the impatient soul seeking overnight reaches. It's a gift for those who understand the virtue of standing still and letting nature take its course. Every dollar you earn and then reinvest begins to work for you, and in turn, it spawns new employees that join your financial army. $1 becomes two snowball into 4, and before you know it, your wealth has expanded tenfold, 100-fold, all through the quiet magic of compounding. But sadly, most people extinguish that magic before it can ignite fully, simply because they crave instant gratification. They withdraw too early, squander their initial profits on unnecessary luxuries, and then declare defeatedly, investing just doesn't work for me. The truth is, investing does work, marvelously so. It's the investor who often lacks the necessary patience and discipline. Make time your greatest ally in this journey, for when you allow money the space and duration to work its wonders, it will outperform any human employee you've ever hired, hands down. I vividly remember the first time I truly comprehended the power of compound interest in my own life. In 1965, I invested a modest sum into a reliable income fund. Nothing extravagant, just a starting point. 15 years later, when I checked back, the amount ballooned to more than 10 times my original investment. What astonished me most was that roughly 80% of that growth stemmed not from my initial deposit, but from the reinvested profits compounding over time. I hadn't needed to lift a finger beyond the initial commitment. I simply refrained from touching the money, and it rewarded me abundantly. Here's the key lesson embedded in that experience. Patience isn't just a virtue, it's the highest form of profit you can earn. When you cultivate the discipline to leave your earnings untouched, allowing them to reinvest and grow, you unlock the full potential of compound interest to transform your finances. People are always clamoring for ways to get rich quick, but the individuals who achieve lasting wealth are those who slow down, exercise restraint, and let their money mature naturally. Don't sabotage your own harvest by being too eager to consume the early fruits. Give the seed ample time in the ground to evolve into a sturdy tree that provides shade and abundance for years to come. And if what I've shared so far is resonating deeply with you, stirring something within, then I encourage you to take a brief moment to do one small action that could profoundly impact your learning journey. If these principles feel truly valuable and applicable to your life, go ahead and hit that subscribe button to join me as we continue exploring lessons that pave the way to lasting financial freedom, one step and one principle at a time. Consider it like planting a small seed in your own mind. Every new piece of knowledge you absorb sets off the compound interest of wisdom, growing your understanding and capabilities exponentially over time. Now, let's move forward together to the next principle, where you'll discover why the rich are never content to be the sole linchpin in their operations. Principle 4, build a system that runs without you. One of the most pervasive mistakes I observe among even the most diligent and hardworking individuals is that they inadvertently position themselves as the only indispensable link in their own lives. Everything, their income, their plans, even their sense of happiness and stability, hinges entirely on their personal effort and presence. The instant they pause for a day, whether due to illness, vacation, or burnout, the whole structure crumbles like a house of cards. I refer to this as the trap of the competent worker. You're so skilled and reliable that no one else can step in to replace you. But paradoxically, that's precisely why true freedom eludes you. I once coached a small business owner in Florida who ran a bustling print shop with 50 employees under him. On the surface, it seemed successful, but every order, every printing job, every contract negotiation had to pass through his hands personally. When I asked him what would happen if you took a week off to recharge, he let out a heavy sigh and admitted, "I wouldn't dare try. Everything would fall apart." In reality, he wasn't truly running a business. He had merely created a more complicated, demanding job for himself, one that chained him to the daily operations. The rich comprehend this dynamic all too well and actively avoid it. They have no desire to micromanage every detail or be involved in every task. Instead, they focus on constructing robust systems where process continues smoothly even in their absence. Such a system might take the form of a business with a well-trained, autonomous team handling day-to-day affairs, a rental property portfolio with reliable long-term tenants and property managers, a content creation channel or digital product that sells itself around the clock, or an automated investment portfolio that relocates monthly without manual intervention. The key isn't necessarily the scale or complexity of the system. It's the reliability and self-sufficiency that allow you to step back, observe from afar, make occasional adjustments, and expand strategically. That's when you transition from working in the system, grinding away at tasks, to working on the system, refining it for greater efficiency and growth. To create such a system, you must master the art of delegation, entrusting the right tasks to the right people or tools, and having faith in the overall mechanism to function as a cohesive unit. A person who truly works for themselves isn't the one doing everything single-handedly, but the one who orchestrates and assigns effectively, begin modestly, automate repetitive chores like bill payments, savings transfers, financial reports, or data tracking using apps and software. This is how you reclaim your time, which is, after all, your most precious and irreplaceable asset. Without a solid system in place, you're merely trading hours for dollars in a never-ending exchange. With a well-designed system, you're leveraging your intellect to generate ongoing freedom. I once posed a question to a seasoned investor friend in California. How much money do you think is enough to retire comfortably? He smiled wisely and responded, "It's not about the amount in the bank, Jim. What truly matters is whether my system can sustain itself without my constant involvement." That reply struck me as profoundly insightful because money can deplete over time, but a properly built system will perpetually generate more money, value, and time. Avoid becoming the solitary link that holds everything together. Instead, learn to engineer mechanisms that self-regulate, self-correct, and expand autonomously. If your success demands your perpetual presence, you're essentially enslaving yourself to it. True freedom doesn't arise from doing less work per se. It emerges from establishing the right systems that work diligently for you, liberating you to pursue what matters most. And once you've achieved a system that operates independently, you'll attain the pinnacle state that so many dream of, a reality where money continues to flow steadily even when you choose to stop actively participating. Principle 5, true freedom, is when money flows even when you stop. I once asked a close friend in Arizona a simple yet revealing question. What makes you feel truly free in life? He thought for a moment before answering, "Today I no longer have to work just to cover my bills and can instead do whatever I love without financial worries hanging over me." That response lingered with me because it highlights how most of us misconstrue the concept of freedom. We often equate it with quitting our jobs or lounging in idleness, but genuine freedom is far more nuanced. It's the ability to choose your activities freely, unburdened by monetary pressures or obligations. One day your body will crave rest after years of exertion. You yearn for more time with family, cherished moments with loved ones, or simple pleasures like watching the sunlight filter through a window on a quiet afternoon. But if at that stage, every minute you pause translates to money drying up, you'll never experience true peace or relaxation. You might physically leave your workplace, but the shadow of financial anxiety will follow you everywhere. You could embark on a trip, but your mind would remain tethered to unpaid bills and looming expenses. That's not only a temporary, it's mere respite laced with underlying tension, like a vacation accruing interest on your worries. The rich grasp this truth with crystal clarity. They don't seek methods to evade work altogether. Rather, they devise ways for productive work to persist without their direct involvement. They recognize that freedom isn't unlocked by ceasing effort, but by ensuring money generates itself independently. When cash flow remains consistent, even as you take a break, you enter an elevated state of intentional living. Suddenly, you can opt to spend your mornings immersed in a good book instead of battling rush hour traffic. You can enjoy a leisurely coffee with your child, discussing their aspirations and dreams without glancing at the clock. You can travel for 2 weeks straight without the compulsion to check emails or monitor accounts. That is the essence of true freedom. When time becomes wholly yours to command and money evolves from a restrictive chain into a supportive tool that enhances your life. I once met a 60-year-old man, a retired engineer from a factory in Ohio, who had dedicated 35 years to his career, never missing a shift. Upon retirement, his pension scarcely covered basic needs, forcing him to penny pinch relentlessly. He can gym. I thought retirement would bring freedom, but I've just swapped one factory for a modest house where I still count every cent. I responded gently, freedom isn't an automatic reward for enduring long enough. It's the outcome of constructing the right systems from the outset. Always remember, financial freedom isn't defined by a specific number in your bank account, but by the underlying structure of your cash flow. If that flow sustains itself independently, you've triumphed. But if maintaining it requires sacrificing your health time or irreplaceable years, then regardless of your earnings, you're still captive to money's demands. So pose this question to yourself today. If I stop tomorrow, would the money keep coming? If the answer is no, view it not as defeat, but as a call to action. Begin crafting systems, investments, or knowledge bases that foster passive income streams. Gradually, your cash flow will decouple from your daily toil, and that's when authentic living commences. Freedom isn't about inertia. It's about possessing the liberty to pursue your passions. By making money work for you, you don't merely accumulate wealth, you cultivate choices. And that power to choose is freedom's most exquisite manifestation. To render that system enduringly sustainable, however, demands a unique investment, one not deposited in banks, but cultivated within yourself. Principle 6, invest in financial knowledge and turn yourself into a profit-generating asset. During a seminar I led, I declared, before pouring money into stocks, real estate, or any venture, invest first and foremost in your own brain. A participant stood up puzzled and asked, why prioritize myself when I'm eager to make money quickly? I smiled and explained, because without comprehending money's language, you'll forever be at its mercy, controlled by forces you don't understand. Most people crave more money, yet few bother to learn how it truly operates. They discuss investing casually but can't differentiate assets from liabilities. They aspire to financial freedom but wouldn't know how to interpret a basic balance sheet if their life depended on it. Consequently, they're swayed by sensational news headlines, herd mentality, or fleeting trends rather than solid knowledge and foresight. The rich diverge sharply here. They regard knowledge as the most enduring profit-generating asset available. Money can evaporate in market crashes. Opportunities can slip away. But sound understanding enables you to rebuild from nothing time and again. I once encountered a 25-year-old in Chicago employed at a modest company and earning just enough to scrape by. Yet every month he allocated 10% of his income toward books, online courses, and seminars on finance. 3 years on, that knowledge empowered him to invest wisely in stocks. 5 years later, he launched a thriving small business in personal finance consulting. When I inquired about his best investment ever, he replied instantly, the books I devoured and the lessons I absorbed. Investing in knowledge represents an invisible compounding effect each book read. Conversation engaged, mistake analyzed, multiplies subtly within you. Eventually it yields intellectual dividends, insights, skills resilience that no one can confiscate. Markets may plummet, currencies devalue, but wisdom withstands every crisis. As I've often said, investing in your job secures a living, but investing in yourself forges wealth. Knowledge doesn't merely aid in acquiring money, it equips you to retain and amplify it. Those ignorant of financial rules succumb to emotional turbulence, fearful amid greed, greedy amid fear. Knowledgeable individuals stay composed through storms, knowing markets fluctuate, but true value persists. They invest with purpose, not blindly, and allow compounding its due course rather than chasing fads. Treat learning as a non-negotiable investment, budgeting for it like essentials such as food or transport. View every book, course, or mentorship as acquiring shares in your intellect, each promising dividends and enhanced thinking capabilities and vision. When your mind grows rich, money naturally gravitates toward you. I've long held that no investment rivals the returns from self-investment. You are your primary business and paramount asset. Daily growth cascades into every life facet. With sufficient understanding, you'll shift from money obsession to value creation, ascending to superior freedom, liberation from ignorance. And with knowledge, you deliver value effortlessly, for money never arises from pursuit, but from the worth you provide others. Principle 7, deliver value first and money will find you. I've encountered a profound adage, money doesn't trail people, it trails value. Through decades of observation, I've seen that generally wealthy individuals don't hound money. They pursue value, the meaningful contributions they offer others. Focusing solely on money reduces everything to cold numbers, but emphasizing value reveals people, the lives improved, problems solved, joys amplified, and that fosters the most resilient money flow. Money chasers query, what's my pay? Value creators ask, how many can I assist? These mindsets yield divergent paths. Observe successful figures. authors, entrepreneurs, artists, educators, they all prioritize giving before receiving. An author's wealth stems not from writing, but from transforming readers' lives. An entrepreneur prospers because their product genuinely resolves issues. I conversed with a woman in California who began teaching online cooking from her humble kitchen. Initially overlooked, she shared free tips on healthy meals, ingredient efficiency, and self-love via food instead of aggressive marketing. 3 years hence, her channel boasted hundreds of thousands of followers, classes overflowed, and brands sought partnerships. She confided, Jim, I'm not peddling recipes, I'm infusing energy and love into every share. Money's merely the byproduct. That's this principle's core. Sowing value cultivates soil where money grows organically. Money arrives not from desire's intensity, but from deservedness through contributions. As I say, to gain more, become more valuable. The poor declare, the rich affirm, giving begets more. Choose your worldview wisely. Money is reward, not objective. Aid others in achieving desires, and money pursues you as a value source. Thus, truly content and free individuals seldom dwell on money. They discuss journeys, beliefs, enhancements. This enriches them daily, financially, and spiritually. Commence today, offer a belief in skill, experience, lesson. So value incrementally. Results may delay, but value remembers, returning when pursuit ceases. Now, with these 7 principles internalized, recall this journey initiates not with capital, but vision and self-belief. Grab paper, pen this. What does my money do for me today? If little freedom dawns, set goes one past the stream in 12 months, 12 finance books yearly, daily value giving. Enrich others, universe reciprocates, work smarter, not harder, become invaluable. If resonated, like, subscribe, share to propagate freedom where money serves people. Await next money follows a value, not ours, turning worth into endless success. Treasures lie where knowledge seeds plant, freedom nurtures daily.